All right, we is live. Yo, Quinisha, thank you for coming through to the QBC Archives today. How are
It
you
was my
doing?
pleasure.
How you
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I
Oh,
told
no
you,
problem.
I think what you're doing with Queer Black Creatives is amazing, and I just can't wait to see what evolves out of this space. So hats off to you.
I appreciate it. So tell us a little bit about yourself, pronouns that you go by, your sign, and where are you from originally?
Ah man, so this whole pronoun situation, I just really figured out what that was not too long ago. So not really married to it, just like I'm Quinisha.
Okay, cool.
I guess that you can call me Quinisha. That's cool with me. And I guess she and her. I guess we could do
Okay,
that. Yeah.
okay.
But Quinisha is I just prefer that. So my sign, I am a Capricorn through and through.
Yes.
January 13th, I am everything about the goat. The goat is me. I am goat.
Yes.
Take that exactly how I said it too. Okay. Uh, I am originally from Rochester, New York, but I feel like I am a child of the earth, student of the world. So that's why you won't find me there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. That Capricorn. Yes. Now
Yeah.
it all makes sense now.
Yeah, I am that.
Word. So let's talk about the point of no return.
Okay.
So NYE, New Year's Eve, for those that don't know what NYE is, 2016, you took a one-way flight to Shanghai. You
Yep.
started your journey of unlearning, learning and affirming. I took this from the QBC forums if anybody's trying to figure out what this is about. Talk to us about that. What was the process like? What was going through your mind at the time? Like, just kind of set that scene.
Well, I mean, so to really get background on why I ultimately gave away everything and hopped a one-way flight to basically the other side of the earth.
Right.
Um, I just actually put a video out a couple of days ago, and it's called "1 Year Ago Today I Almost Died," and that is that. That and then the next video that came out was what I learned from the 2 worst days of my life. And the crazy thing was on June 29th, 2016, I almost died. On July 1st, 2015, my mom's eldest sister, my aunt, did die.
Hmm.
And it was unexpected. It was the middle of the day. It was heart wrenching. It was awful. It was the thing that I think it was one of the most pivotal days in my life. That was one. And then the day I almost died was definitely the next. And so I think this getting to January 31st had everything to do with the July 1st, 2015. And then everything that happened like beyond that, because when my aunt passed away, it wasn't like she was sick, it wasn't like we went to a hospital and, you have like, you see your elders, they progress over time and you can kind of figure, okay, they lived a good life. They did these things and I saw life leaving their body. So I understand that. But when you get a phone call in the middle of the day and you're just having a good time and you just going to check on your mom that's at your aunt's house and you get there and on the way there, I have actually a YouTube video you guys can check out that kind of go into the details of it, but a quick overview. On the way there, my sister called me back and said, I don't want you to find out in any kind of crazy way, but Auntie Cheryl just passed away. And that was terrible. It was awful. I was sitting at a green light and I couldn't turn. And I only was sitting at that green light because I went the wrong way on accident, even though I knew exactly how to get there. And she only lived a few minutes from me, so I would have gotten there on time. And, it was just, but I know that moment was something I needed to have because my aunt was single. She had no children. And my aunt was gay. And she had lived in the closet for probably all of her life. And so at the time, I was dating guys. I wasn't dating anybody at that moment, but up until then, I definitely identified as heterosexual. And I didn't really think anything about it. I feel like everybody else around me had these concepts or ideas about my sexuality. And I'm like, if I was having as much sex as y'all think I'm having, my life would be very different. I promise you, I am a Capricorn. Work is life. Like I'm out here climbing mountains. I'm not thinking about any of that. So, when that happened, when my aunt passed away, that's when I realized I had to figure this out. I had to give myself the opportunity to figure out if I like girls, if I like boys, and by that, I mean like adult men, women,
I know.
say girls, but I don't want no kind of gray areas.
Yeah. Clarity. I got you.
Saying exactly. So yeah, so in that moment, it was like I felt like I saw the end of my life, like a preview of it, and if I didn't take time, like to figure out what I was doing. And so that was like a year of just like turmoil, because I mean, now you have mourning and you have like this loss that you just experienced, but also now you have to face a part of yourself that you haven't. And then in there was also, you know, you start to, I didn't get over my aunt's loss in the way that I had in the past other people. And so I promised myself if I had really struggled with it after a certain point that I would go to therapy and get some tools around it. And so I went to therapy, and therapy was the best decision for me at that time because it gave me a place to talk out about things and realize that I was really the death of her death was also kind of the death of a part of me too, you know, and like, and then there was like this new area, like this birthing, but I was really, I think I was really kind of afraid of it because my family's super religious, and, you know, there was a lot of, in my mind at the time, I was handling all the details of my aunt's funeral. So it was, I had never been more close to my family, and I have a really big family. And so in my mind, you know, I know they're seeing me this one way because everybody's telling me how much they love me and how grateful they are for me and, you know, all these things. And in my head, I'm like, but if I end up liking girls, then do I lose all of this because of that? And then I had to ask myself, but is it what matters to you more, your peace of mind and happiness, or this, you know, your family, the possibility of family, because, you know, there's no guarantees even with that. And so it was a lot to process in a short period of time on the heels of this unexpected loss.
Right.
So, yeah, so I spent some time trying to figure that out. And then I met this girl, and I was like, it was like this whole process. And then I realized, yeah, definitely, that is definitely my lane right there. Yeah, it was like, you know, in Lion King, when Simba and Scar are fighting, and then you think Simba lost, and then he come out the fire. It was like, yeah, that's what this is. Okay, that's what I've been missing. It was, yeah. So I was like, okay, I understand why people like this so much. I get it now. Yeah. So that happened, and then and it was great, and there was some months of like just really good stuff, and then, but I still, my whole life, my overall life, you know, I still didn't know I still didn't know what I wanted, you know, like I still wasn't even comfortable with the fact that I wanted that, you know, and so then I went to Kenya, to Nairobi, and I was literally this is no lie, I was literally where Pride Mountain is, like from Lion King. And I was sick. I got so sick in Kenya, but there is where I wrote down what a successful life looks like for me. And when I got back, I was still sick. I was sick for a long time. And then I had like one good week, and then like some weeks went by. I just started having hives every single day. I had never had hives in my life, ever before. And I had them every day. I would go to the doctor, to specialists, emergency, all the above. And then June, or what was that? The 29th, yeah. June 29th, I woke up and my whole face was looking like Hitch. Actually, I'll show you a picture. And I didn't want to get out of bed. I was like feeling really tired. And so I just took a picture because I felt weird, but I didn't know what was up. So this was what I woke up looking like.
Oh,
yeah. So I was like, but I had an allergist appointment that day. So I was like, I'll just ride it out to my appointment. But then I realized the reason why I couldn't really get out of bed is because I couldn't really breathe. So I was like, call my mom, and ended up going to emergency critical care. That was like the day I definitely almost died. And I realized the question I'd asked myself a year prior, or 363 days prior, was like, if I got to the end, will I be able to say that I lived a successful life? And will people around me be able to say I lived a successful life? And 363 days later, the answer was still no. I had done nothing different than before. And so if I were to die, my life was for what? You know, and so that was enough for me. that happened. I had some responsibilities and obligations I needed to fulfill in terms of like being in Rochester, whatever. But I knew then that I had to do something different. At first, I thought I was gonna be DC. Then I thought it was LA. Then I realized I would just be doing that because I had done it before at a different time in my life and trying to prove something to myself. But that still wasn't what I wanted. And I still really didn't know anything that I wanted. I was just like, yeah, I gotta go. Like, I don't want to maintain all this stuff I have going on in my life. The relationships that I have in my life, I don't even know where they fit. I don't even know who I am. And I don't feel I can really truly figure that out in the shadows of everything else that's going on. And I just I'm living a life I don't identify or recognize. And I don't want that. And I don't have to have that. So, yeah, I got a plane ticket and flew to Shanghai and to Bangkok and then Chiang Mai. And I had no idea if I was going to even be able to get into the country or anything. I still don't have plans. I didn't have plans then and I don't have plans now. So I just been, I got away. That was the best decision I ever made. Still was the best decision I ever made, for sure.
That takes a lot of courage to do.
No, it takes really hating your life. I don't know. People say, oh, you're so bold, you're so courageous. That's not what I felt in those moments. I can tell you that. I felt like at some point, like I didn't tell many people I was leaving. And the reason I didn't tell people I was leaving is because what I now know is very true is people will cast their inabilities on you. And even though you may be able to say, no, like it'll be fine. You know, you may have a response to it. You still internalize their doubts and their fears. Yes, and the night before I was supposed to leave, I just laid in bed. I was just tormented. I swore I had brain cancer. I was like, I had a knot in the back of my head. Like it was just crazy. Like all these crazy thoughts. And I talked to one of my friends and she was like, you don't get on that plane and go. And I was like, yeah, she's right. Like, I mean, if I go home or what's home, I have to start over anyways. I gave away my dog, my car, all my clothes. I literally this and a pair of jeans was the only, because I was allergic to all my clothes, my apartment, everything made me sick. So I left with one backpack. And so if I would have been back to Rochester, I'm gonna go to everybody's house that I gave all my stuff to, like, hey, can I get that table? Can I get those chairs? Can I get those jeans and my blazer? Like, no. So yeah, I pulled my own safety net from underneath me. It was the best thing I ever did for myself, for sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not too many people can say that they can do that though. You know what I mean? That's wow. We gonna get to it.
Okay.
So from the Facebook post you did on June 5th that reads, 9 more days in Thailand. And after 6 months, here's what happened and here's what I've learned. For those of us who haven't read that post, tell us some of the things that you learned. And I also want to touch on the article about internal resistance is also redirection, which is the beauty of having no plan and strategy. Let's talk about that.
Let's see. Wait, I got to actually pull that up to see what I learned.
Yes.
Let's see. I feel like, because like lessons be coming at you, and I feel like since then I've probably learned even more things. Wait, what day you said? June 6th, right? Yeah, okay.
June 5th.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so the first thing I learned was that my peace of mind had to come before everything and everyone else. And I had to almost be to the point of anger in expressing that. Like, my mother used to tell me when I was younger, and I didn't truly take it to heart or really understand it until now. Like, don't be people's garbage can. Like, don't allow people to, like, what I think she was saying and what I now know, I think maybe be two different things, but it's still very similar. Don't allow people to throw their insecurities and their fears and their perceptions and their inabilities that they create for themselves, because we truly don't have any. We create these ideas and concepts of boundaries and limitations and how far we can go and what we can achieve. We create those ourselves and then we buy into them. So when you say to someone, I'm going to do this, and they be like, oh, I couldn't do that. Or, oh, you crazy for that. So, all these things. Like, again, if you can say to them, no, like, of course, but in your mind, you still heard what they said. And so that you say it to another person, they say something very similar. I've learned that I had to completely be very particular about who's in my circle at this point in my life. Mm-hmm. If you cannot affirm who I am and the space that I am in and big me up, I have no time for you, because I don't need fear. It is literally not, it serves no purpose for me. None. I've learned how to trust myself. So I know, okay, I know not to go down a dark, I can't even say that because in Vietnam, I went down all sorts of dark alleys. But you know what I'm saying? Like you know your instincts and things. But I'm not about to hear, if somebody's telling me that they're afraid to get on an airplane, we don't have a conversation to have. Mm-hmm. That's not a thing, because all they're going to say is, oh, turbulence and all these things. All I can do is fly in airplanes. I'm not going to take a boat, and if I do, I'll probably die. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm going to listen to your fears for what? They serve no purpose. So the first thing I learned was that my peace of mind had to come above everyone else's. And the way that really started to come into play is that I was 12, 11 hours ahead of people. Mm-hmm. And so it's you almost feel a sense of responsibility, check on your friends, check on your family, whatever. But then you realize, like, no, you really have to check on you. You have to spend time with your voices. And like, I started having everyday, daily mantras, observations and affirmations. And I sit down and I talk to myself, and people will tell you that you're crazy to do it. But the thing is that the voice that you need to hear in the toughest times is your own. And if you haven't spent time with yourself developing that, then when that time comes, you ain't gonna know what to do. So if you haven't spent time bigging yourself up and affirming yourself, you won't trust that voice. Mm-hmm. So you'll be reaching out to other people who have their own inabilities and limitations that they've cast on themselves, and asking them for all you're asking for is affirmation. But because they don't believe that they are possible or capable of doing these things, they cannot see that you could do it. So you have to sit down and affirm things in your life that don't make sense at that moment. Because the reason why I was able to do what I did is because there were times, like when I sat down in Nairobi and said, this is what I want to do. This is what a successful life looks like for me. It didn't make sense. I really thought I was dying in Nairobi. I was really, really sick. I didn't have any idea what I was doing in my life, but I still sat down and wrote it down. And yeah, I didn't take action on it month 3 or whatever, but life happens and you'll figure it out. So it's like, it's difficult to separate yourself when you constantly are around people. But when you have the gift of 12-hour time difference, and I didn't have a SIM card for my phone, you start to be able to create, you create necessary boundaries for yourself. And like, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good. You speaking the gospel right now.
All right. So yeah, you start to create necessary boundaries that you would feel guilty for doing if you were around people. When I was in Thailand, if people couldn't reach me, they just couldn't reach me. Mm-hmm. Like if I wasn't and I'm an 80s baby. So there was a time where people were inaccessible for a period of time in the day. Right now, it's like, you saw I called your phone, you get attitude, somebody, like, I needed time for myself. I didn't have to explain that anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, I reached out to people when it was healthy for me. It's not about being selfish. It was when it was healthy for me. And if it was not healthy and it didn't affirm me, then I didn't reach out to those people. So there are friendships that I, a year ago, would not have believed would not be in my life. And it's not because they are bad people. That was not a healthy situation for me right now. And in many cases, I don't believe that I was a healthy situation for them right now. So so that's something else. Let's see, being able to identify people that love and lift me just because it's their nature. Woo. Listen, my mother always tells me that, like, we love hard, and because we love hard, it's difficult to find people that are able and capable of accepting that. That's just what it is. And it's even more difficult to find people that reciprocate that. And so what I found myself doing is getting into these relationships and friendships where it was very one-sided. And I felt that all I needed was the ability to love. I didn't think for a long time that I needed love. One of my affirmations that I had to put in place was I deserve. I was made to love, and I was made to be loved in return. I was made to give love, and I was made to receive love. And in the beginning, when I said that, even now, my heart drops a little bit, because there's a part of me that doesn't truly believe that. But that's why I have to say it even when it doesn't make sense. So I've been having to tell myself, and every day I've been having to tell myself that. And when you tell yourself that, and then something contrary comes, I'm gonna tell you when you start to believe that. You don't believe that in those moments where you're just talking to yourself. You believe that right after somebody done effed you up and somebody done broke your heart and you sitting in bed and you don't know what to do and you say that to yourself. It's when you're most broken that those affirmations really can take ground, but you had to have been saying it to yourself before. And it's like, I can remember time and time again, like when my heart was broken, I was driving back on my blogs. I talk about this. I'm driving back and I'm listening to Jasmine Sullivan and Mona Lisa. And I'm saying I'm a masterpiece. I am crying and snotting in this car. I look like a destroyed masterpiece at best. Okay. I am like so devastated. I drove an hour and 45 minutes with that on repeat, saying it over and over and over. And then when I got to Thailand on my last night in Chiang Mai, which is in North Thailand, I got on my motorbike and I just threw my headphones in, and you know what song started playing? Mona Lisa. And I just started smiling so hard and singing it so loud because my life was fundamentally different. Everything about my life was exactly what that song said. Like, I am no longer afraid to show the world. Like, this is who I am. But I can, in that moment, I'm like, I remember when I did not believe this, but I had the audacity to still tell myself this. And now on my last night here, this is the gift that is given to me to remind me of how far my words and my actions have taken me. So yeah, so many things in here. This other thing, I don't have to be nice when reacting to people so flagrantly projecting their self-assigned limits, insecurities, and fears. Like, I have zero tolerance for it. I just don't. You know, people try to dress up their fears and limitations as concern for you, and it's like, no, like, that's not any of my business. Keep that to yourself. That's not concern. That's just literally not concern. That's you not being able to recognize that you have a self-assigned fear and you have a self-assigned limitation, and you want me to buy into that so you have some company in your misery. And I just don't. No. So yeah, so there's some people I mute them. I erase. There are some people I just directly say, but then there's some people it's just not worth having the conversation, either because I know at some point down the road we'll eventually be friends, and this is just not the season for that friendship, or I just don't care, quite frankly. Like, if your phone come up, your name come on my phone again, I'll be like, yo, bro, just don't hit me. We're not in the same place, you know, and that's okay. So another very important thing I learned is that my brain needs new challenges and new adventures and new experiences, and is my responsibility to make that happen for myself. I started to realize that my life had become as limited as my vocabulary. And what I mean by that is, like, you get into conversations. When I started being in foreign countries where people their first language wasn't English, you start to learn that you have to find different ways to communicate. You either have to learn their language or you have to be dancing, basically. You got to figure out how to communicate. And then that's when you start to realize the power of language, right? Which also says to you, okay, the language that I do speak, do I speak it enough or well enough to really be able to get people to understand what I'm feeling in this moment? Because your life is limited or expanded by the ability for you to communicate your words. And so I started having experiences that I could not find the words to describe. I just lacked them. And the reason I had lacked them is because up until then, I had had so many of the same experiences, I didn't need new words, right? Or you can say stuff like, well, you know what I'm saying? You get what I mean. But when you're in a different country where they lack those societal contexts that, you know, you and I may share because we're Black. Right. I say, I'll walk into a store and they look at me like this. You know exactly what I mean. Right. I can't explain that feeling to somebody in Thailand. They don't know what I mean. So then that started making me think, okay, the people that I communicate with in English, did they know what I meant? Is there a better way for me to have said that? Is there a more succinct way for me to have described that? Or did I make them feel what I meant when I said that? You know, and so it's like Angela Davis, for example, I went to see her speak right before I left. She got up She gave a speech, and for like 3 minutes, I had no idea what any of the words meant that she said, but I knew exactly what she was saying. And I was like, yo, I want to be just like that. Like her hold of language, like the way she bends words to bring you into the experience was just like a breath of fresh air. I'm like, I have no idea I've never heard those words before, but I know exactly what she meant. You know, and so it's like, I realized that my life was so lacking color. And I realized that because a person came into my life, and I would tell them just before I left, like, man, you bring color into my life. And I would just always say it to her, you bring color into my life. And it made me realize that I hadn't had it before, you know? And so now I recently was telling her how much I appreciate her coming and leaving and coming back in my life or whatever. And that now that color that she made me aware exists, I have it every day. Because it became a necessity for me. You know, like we started to be when you start to be exposed to different things, then you start to realize what's out there, you know, and then you start to realize, like, that's why I say fear is not a thing I need. I just don't. Like, people talk to me about, oh, don't go to this place, don't go to this place. I'm like, you niggas are literally marching every week, negotiating your humanity every week. And you're telling me I should fear these other countries where I literally have white privilege. Literally. I literally have white privilege all around this world. But you want me to come back to a place that won't recognize my existence as necessary. I'm not doing that. I'm just not. America literally in world history is a teenager. Everywhere else in the world is an adult. It is the youngest country, and it is the youngest country. I'm going to come back to this developing society, socially, country, where I don't matter. Like, we literally have to chant that my life matters. I don't have to do that when I go to these countries. I open my mouth and they want to give me stuff because I speak English. That's in English speaking countries. Even more so in non-English speaking countries. But you want me to come back to a place where I could drive down the street and someone can shoot me in my head simply because I drove down the street? Right. You want me to fear these other countries that literally open their doors to me, literally, and lay out the red carpet. And this is what I'm talking about, self-assigned fear and perception. And these concepts that we buy into about what life should be or what it should look like, when it's literally all that you've ever lived. And I just got to a place where I realized, like, the world will tell you who you are. And if you make this mistake of believing them, you will be miserable. So I wanted to get out into the world and figure that out, figure out who I am, figure out what this world is. And I can tell you it's very different than anything that you probably imagined, for better and for worse. For sure. I can tell you terrible stuff I've experienced or seen. I can tell you amazing things that I've seen. That's just how it goes. But I don't have to run around talking about my life matters. I don't have to do that. I get to just exist. I don't have to. I've seen love that I would be a part of, and people are not having to say it's a revolution. I don't want my love to have to be a revolution. I don't want my existence to be a revolution. I don't want to have to raise civil rights icons. I want my children to grow up around other Black children and they just get to be free. And they don't even have to be concerned with if they're going to be living under the white gaze or any of these things. And I've seen that happen. So I know it's possible. Except y'all want me to come back to America where I've seen that it's just not. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. Whew. This is really, this is very healing for me. I don't know how it's going to feel. And I honestly don't care how it's going to feel at this point, but this is like my mind right now is just like, yes.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great.
Yes.
That's great.
Like this is an amazing way to wake up this morning. I thank you for this experience. I really do. But before I get off track, because we gonna talk. Okay. Being lost and picking up without a plan. I know we kind of touched on a little bit, but the freedom that comes with it. Did you have to transition, which you kind of touched on, to that mentality, or was it something that just came naturally to you? I know we talked about it, but
no, I was lost in my life. I was lost in life. I can remember once before I left, I would talk to my friend Simone, and I would literally just sit in my bed and I'll be on the phone with her. I'll be like, bruh, now I need you to understand I am a Capricorn, okay?
Right.
We have a plan and a strategy for
everything.
Okay,
everything.
It is my nature. It is within me to know. I have the conversation. I'm person A and person B. And when we have the conversation in real life, I know exactly what you're gonna say. I am a Capricorn, okay? Simone is a Capricorn. Okay, I'm such a Capricorn. My best friends are Capricorns. That is what I'm trying to explain to you. Okay, I'm not even messing with you. But my two Capricorns. Okay. So I was lost in life, and I need you to understand that was the sunken place. Okay, lost. I would be on the phone with her. I'd be like, no smile. I'm laughing now, but like, yo, I'm just lost. I have no idea. We literally saying to her, it was all good just a week ago. Like I felt like everything was good. Like I felt like I knew exactly. Had this girl in my life. I'm like, yeah, this is it. I had like businesses going good. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I got this big fat loft. I had a dog, I had a car. I had the most I'd ever acquired in my life. I'm telling you, like my credit score was the best it had been in my life. Things were great.
Right.
And then they just weren't. And then I was just very, very lost. And so this whole transition of being lost, that was my existence for months before I left. And so it was crazy because when I got to these places, when I got to Bangkok, man, Bangkok is basically New York City if everybody spoke Thai, but you spoke English. Okay, like, and with every sign is in Thai, everybody speaks Thai. And I remember when I got, my Airbnb was this real tall building. I was like on the 45th floor or something like that. And I remember I opened the door and I was like, fuck, like I did this. Like I'm literally in Thailand. Like what? I really was like, and that because when I went in, you could see the whole city, and it looked very much like Bangkok because all the waterways and stuff you could see it. So it wasn't like I was in some, like some ritzy hotel where it feels like I could be anywhere in America. I wasn't, at the Hyatt or something. I don't know, these hotels and things. It wasn't like that. I'm literally living in a neighborhood at this point. So I'm like, it's really hitting me. And I'm tired as I want to work because I've been traveling for all these hours. So I'm like, wow. So then I was, all messed up in terms of time. And I will wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. But I was in Bangkok. So you could eat at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. It didn't matter. So it finally hit me one day that like, this is truth. Walking and I'm literally lost, right? Like in the sense that I have no idea where I'm at. If somebody said, hey, where you at? I don't know. Then I realized I'm really only as lost as my phone in my pocket. Like I could pull out my phone and pull out a Google map and I would know where I'm at, but it doesn't really change anything. I just know where I'm at, but I'm still but I'm not actually lost. Like there's a meaning or a purpose to this place that I'm at. And so I started to realize like there's a difference between like being lost in your life and being lost in that sense, right? And that they do all serve a purpose. And it was in a sense, it was a process for me that all that stuff that happened to get me away. Then I started to see like I didn't need everything to make sense. I didn't have to be so in control. Like there's so much beauty in just experiencing. And I had like little glimpse into that was a part of me that I hadn't really dealt with. Because I would see people that identified as free spirits, and I used to be so envious of them. Like, man, that looks so fun. Like, you can just wake up and just do anything with your life. You don't have a plan. You don't have a schedule, a calendar. Like, that looks interesting. And then when I went to Toronto, some point, and I went to see Beyonce. She killed. She was so good. I was sitting in the front, like on the ground. And she was I was standing. She was so good. I had to sit down and just take it in for a moment. I'm like, good God, this is perfection. Like, this is what hard work looks like. You could tell that, like, it's not just about what she did on the stage, all the preparation that she had to do. And just like, I was just like, as a creative, it was life. It was like, if this is what heaven is, I have to live right. So I had made a video before her show. And then, of course, I saw her show and I was just like, this is not it at all. Like, I got to do this again. I told my friend, I'm like, yo, I'm just going to just drive around and put a camera up and record it. And that was really my first glimpse, I think, at this concept of like just freely just doing something. And I made this video, and that was the most I felt like myself in a long time, you know. And so it was just called an adventure day, where I just, no GPS, nothing. I just drove around and I had like the dopest experiences in Toronto. And then I've since done that in Vietnam, and I've done it in Thailand, and I've done it here. I've done it everywhere. So yeah, it was like, I felt like I learned that I felt so lost because I thought I needed to know what was next. Like, I thought it was necessary for me to always have this big picture in my life. And I still struggle with it a little bit at times. Like, there's so much freedom in this thing that I'm experiencing that sometimes you get convinced that this can't be life. Then you realize, no, this is literally my life. This is literally my life. And that is okay. Like, you don't have to do the work to get back to that other life that you literally hated. Like, it's okay to live like this, you know? And I've had to tell myself that planning shapes the contours of my life. That means it gives my life some sense of shape, but I get to fill all this in, you know, however I deem necessary. So yeah, being lost and allowing myself to be literally lost in most of these places. In Southeast Asia, I didn't even have a SIM card in my phone, you know, so I didn't have access to anything. I just would get on my motorbike and I would just drive, and I'll always end up exactly where I needed to be or wanted to be, or was fine. You know, I always have dope experiences on the other side of it. So it was like, this being found thing is overrated, you know, like there is freedom in allowing yourself this space of not having the answers, you know, or not needing the answers. You don't have to have the answers to all things, you know? So, but I think when you're raised in church and stuff, and when you're raised where faith is actually treated as assurance, then you get so morphed into this concept that you have to have this black and white, the answers of it all. And there's always going to be, you know, something that makes sense. And sometimes it just doesn't have to, and it can still be a good time. So I have this idea for a tattoo that I want that would be like a goat, where it's like real stenciled and clean on one side and then just watercolors on the other side, because that's very much probably like the best picture I can paint of this person that I'm like continuing to discover.
Wow.
So,
wow. That's amazing. For real. For real. That's amazing. So tell me about a little bit about traveling and being Black and queer in Thailand and learning some Thai. I know you was in Vietnam, Singapore, then to Europe. Like, what is that for you? I seen that video that you posted, and the people was taking pictures of you on the cover.
Yeah, man, that was in Vietnam and Da Nang, and those are all mostly Chinese people, because they really have never seen Black people in their life. So, so here's the thing, like, you know, in terms of being Black and queer and all these things. So when I left the States, my biggest priority was avoiding white people, straight up, and that was, again, for my sanity. Yeah, you know, like, America's really toxic. America's really, really toxic. I know. And I mean, some of my best friends, and this is not like, oh, I'm not racist because my best friends are white. I'm saying, like, I was avoiding all the white people, including the ones in my life. And I mean that because I was avoiding everybody in my life, one, okay? And then when I was traveling, I was definitely making a point to avoid white people. So, which is fairly easy. I picked a good place to go to do that. Except if you're in Chiang Mai in the center city, then it looks like, at one point I was like, is this California or Thailand? Because I think that y'all missed the memo, because Bangkok is it's Thailand. Like, they speak Thai. It is all written in Thai. Like, you feel like you're in a different country. When you go north to Chiang Mai, there's the center of the city, and it feels like California. I mean, it's the weather, because up there it's a bit cooler. And it was white people going by on segways. I was like, is this a joke? Am I in the middle of a prank? Like, how did I get here? Like, I don't want to see you guys. Like, get me out of here. I thought it was a gang of Black people, and I was just like, yes. And that's crazy, because I grew up in a predominantly white area, but you just get to a point in your life where it's just enough, you know? Right. Nairobi was a good glimpse into something I didn't know was possible. And I didn't know it was possible to live outside of the white gaze, or to be in places and not be perceived as the other. I'd never experienced that, obviously, in America, right? So in Nairobi, people would speak to me in Swahili because they just assumed that I was Kenyan. Mm-hmm. And I would be like, oh, that's dope. But now I'm not, hello, hey. Then they would realize, you know, that I was American. So, but that was, so anyways, I kind of got off. Traveling, when I first left, I did not know, or I was not comfortable with the fact that I was queer, gay, or any of those things. You know, it's just kind of still floating in my orbit or whatever. I think once I get booed up, then I'll be real clear on it. Yeah, you know? Yeah. But yeah, so it was mostly this concept of traveling while Black. And for me, it's crazy because the biggest identity when I started traveling wasn't the fact that I was Black, it was that I was American, which is crazy because in America, it's the fact that I'm Black and I don't get to be American. Right? Yeah, but so I never felt American, or even to say more American than when I traveled. To say I've never felt more American is kind of weird because I've never felt American, right? But I've never felt American or more American than when I started traveling. Like here in England, some friends that I've made, they call me America or American or the American. That's literally what they call me. And I'm always like, wow, like that's incredible. Like that's so, I'm not like, we don't get to share in the experience of America. Like it's just not a part of it. So, so for me, it was more, people would be like, where are you from? I would say New York. And I started to realize, like, over time, like, I truly did not identify as that wasn't a part that I got to share. I felt like a New Yorker. I didn't feel like an American. And so all my friends, that are Americans, they'd be like, America. And I'll be like, oh, but I mean, I have the advantage because everybody in the world knows New York, but still I didn't say it because I said it just was my nature. So for me, it wasn't even this. I don't think not in Southeast Asia, I think like this whole, the way we see Black or race, I'm struggling with this because the way we identify in America is so different than the complete rest of the world. Even in England, if you say Black to somebody, they're going to say South African, or are you talking about an Ethiopian or Somalian? They're going to ask you what that's a very American identification. So if you recognize that, then you realize you can reconcile that against like my travel experience of it really just doesn't matter. And I know like there's all these stories about like traveling while Black and all these things. Like, it doesn't matter in a sense until you meet some Chinese people who've never seen Black people. But so then they want to take pictures with you and all this. Like I didn't really spend time in China. I have no real desire to spend time in China. I just don't. But because of all this world power shifting and everything, like China got a lot of money right now, so they're traveling all over the place. So when you're anywhere in the world, Paris, or especially Southeast Asia, you're going to run into high concentrations of Chinese people. So when I was at Bana Hills in Da Nang, most of those people there were Chinese people. So they were like, want to take pictures because they've never, no matter their age, old, young, they've never seen a Black person before. So they like almost think you're a superstar, like for real. It's so again, it's like some people get overwhelmed with it or whatever, like, oh, people pulling you, doing whatever. But plenty of times for me, and I'm not trying to take away from anyone else's experience, but for me, and again, I don't really do the tourist thing when I travel. I happen to go to this place that day, but for the most part, I live in the neighborhoods that the average person lives in. So for me, I realized that most of these people see white people the same way Black people see them, as predators. For real. They do. So there's like this kind of this bond that you and I would naturally share. The same holds true with somebody that's from Thailand or Vietnam, or when you get under the surface of it, you the homie basically right off the bat, So there's that, and then the culture, Black culture has permeated so much of the world that it's not this whole like back in the day was like, oh, you thugs and gangsters and hip. It's not that. Like they get the culture, like they want the culture. So I'm telling you, this is what white privilege is. I'm telling you, I'm not messing around. Like, Black people, if you want to experience white privilege, get out.
Yes.
Get out. Because you being Black, you being American, you speaking English, Western English, those are commodities, I promise you. And what you in America, what they tell you about yourself and how the world will see you is wrong. It is absolutely wrong. The world will receive you and celebrate you in ways that you cannot even imagine. I'm telling you, people have literally opened their doors, bought stuff for me, given stuff to me, fed me, done all the above, simply because I speak English. So you know how you've been around and white folks to tell you that you don't speak proper, you don't whatever, all these things.
Right.
Nah, man.
They love it out there.
They do. They do. They ask you like, it's not, it's I'm telling you, it's, yeah, they're gonna ask you about your hair or whatever, but it's a genuine curiosity. You know, I know, like, you see stories and about like people being treated poorly, and I know, I'm sure it happens. I'll tell you this, the way they treat Africans and the way they treat Black Americans, probably pretty different. Yeah. But you speaking English, you got privilege, bro. You got to get out there and experience it. Why that passport matters, telling you. But just get out the tourist areas, for sure. Because white people own those, so yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot about communities, and the reason why I've been able to learn Thai is because these people have taken me in. You know, Thai is not an easy language at all, but you know, I have like different areas I basically create family pretty quickly, and then you just, it's dope. It's just it feels, that's why I always say I'm home no matter where I'm at. So, and it's just crazy because I never feel home in America, right? And so again, this is where I can't have space for people's fears, because you literally live in fear your whole life. You will go and you will march, you have signs, you got t-shirts and all these things. I learned, we talk about the whole queer identification. Thailand is very, very ahead of the game in that regard, because they are one of the few countries that actually for a long time has identified third sex. So in terms of being transgender and things like that. But so everyone always talks about lady boys, right? In terms of Thailand, but what they don't understand when they talk about that, or the nuance that they lack when they talk about that, is that people get to be exactly who they are, and they get to be open with it. So there's no question. You know, this person is a lady boy, and they know they're a lady boy, and they will tell you. There's no fear of being that. You know, when someone is transitioning in America, they have to go through all these mental health checks and like, what was the trauma in your life and all this? Like, no, this person's like, listen, I don't feel like the body that I have. I'm going to remove my boobs. Right. That's it. I don't want boobs. And so the doctor's like, okay, tomorrow, you gonna come? Okay, and we get your shots. Like, my friend was transitioning, I didn't even know it. I didn't even know it. She was like, she had to go to the hospital. I'm like, you all right? Like, you good? She's like, yeah, I just had to get some shots. I'm like, for what? She's like, testosterone. It's like, now she speaks Thai, so it was like more broken than that. But I was like, oh, and she's like, yeah, like she couldn't figure out the word for transitioning, but we worked around and got it. She pulled her shirt down, and she had 2 bandages where she used to have boobs. She's like, you come back in a year or 2, I'll have a beard and all the above. That's what I'm saying. Like, we create all these ideas. Like, if you wake up, like, if you don't feel like the body that you're in, I feel like you should be able to be in the body that you recognize or feel like. And Thailand is very, so I said all that to say, it's not a revolution. There's not this big rally about it. It just is. So I got to see love that just was love. And I got to see people just live as ladyboys or live as transgender. It wasn't like, it wasn't this animosity around the fact that this person was comfortable being a ladyboy, or this person was comfortable transitioning, or this person was comfortable. So many gay women, like, and I mean, they be in relationships for 20 years from the time they be 12 years old and they've been with the same person. Very different in America, where women, you know, it's like dog years when lesbians are together. But yeah, so because I think it's just not, there's not stress around there, and it just is what it is. Right. Now, it's not necessarily the case in other Southeast Asian countries, but Thailand is very much ahead of the game. So it was really nice to see that, for sure. Absolutely. And women are king out there. Women are king in Thailand, man. I mean, everything's a commodity, including your body. And ladies, they run their money. Like, they have husbands and boyfriends plural, no matter what the age, they gets it. They do. So Yeah. I mean, it's not my lane, but hey,
Yeah,
they get to do their thing.
get it how you live, G.
Yeah, exactly. Do your thing, shorty. Do your thing.
Get it how you live. I feel that. That's nice. You know, like you said, just be you, be what it is. I wish it was, I mean, I wouldn't even say wish, because in a sense it can be like that if you open with if your mind is open. But these days it is. It's like everything is a fucking march, a parade, you know, when it comes to just trying to be who the fuck you are.
Right.
It's like, why do we have to go through the most? Why do we put ourselves in the position to go through the most? Because niggas don't, I mean, sorry, y'all. For real shit. Because people can't just get it together. Just fuck. But
it's just, I mean, it's the country, man. It's just again, it's a teenager. In terms of world history, America's just a very young country. It just happens to be that because of slavery and the commerce created from that, we got to become this world power because of the money that was on the backs of free labor. So that put us at the top. But really, when you see all these other countries and these continents, complete continents, China was a third world country within our lifetime. And now it's one of the top 3 world powers. Like, that's a crazy amount of time to make up such a pace when you think about how long it took America, right? And so then you look at Africa, the continent of Africa, and with the African Union, what they're doing, and all these countries that were developing, that were third world and in developing nations not too long ago, and the amount of wealth that they've been able to curate and to obtain, and to see all like people that look like us holding all this wealth and all this knowledge, they come to America, get educated, and they go home as they should, right? And so now you see this continent that's really starting to really take shape, and they got the African Union, you know. So all these places, in terms of geological powers, it really is shifting. I mean, at the same time, America has this idiot that's in office, and we going, y'all, because I'm wherever I am, going this way, and everybody else is going this way. So what it's going to be, and I'm telling you, Black folks, for real, y'all really got to start leveraging your passport. One, while it still has the power that it has, but 2, because there's a lot of privilege that you don't get access to in America that you do. And I don't just mean that in the sense of people being excited about where you're at. I mean, like, you can't buy property in America, but you definitely can somewhere else in the world. If you're buying it somewhere else in the world where people are traveling to, now you have income that you wouldn't have access to in America. But the thing is, like, your money may not have power in America because you are a Black woman, but that dollar is strong, very strong in Thailand or in Cambodia or in any of these other places. And because you are American, you can definitely get credit over there. You may not be able to get it in America, but you can get it there. You can buy some property. You know what I'm saying? So you can take this money that you make in America. Why do you think people come open up a hair store, work for 3 months, and then they go back to the Middle East? Because they can make the amount of money to live off of for a year in the Middle East in 3 months working at a hair store. You can't do that living in America. You can't work at a hair store and live, right? Without any. So that's why you see these businesses coming in and out the hood, turning over like that, where it's always a new owner, because they can come there. The dollar was strong, has been strong. They on a different level of economics. They're taking this money and they're sending it home and they live in. And so Black folks, okay, maybe y'all need to, I already considered it. Trying to like Jay-Z said, I might think I'm bougie. I'm trying to give y'all $1 million worth of information for $9.99. You know what I'm saying? But you take that American dollar and you make it work for you, because America may not recognize your existence or your privilege, but the rest of the world does.
Wow, that's some real stuff to think about, though. For real, they know the game very well. To flip it like that. But shit, what you got upcoming? Like, I mean, I know that you kind of go by the scope, but like anything that you could think of off the top of the head. I know you're going with the flow, but just upcoming.
I got this. It's funny. This I had a little breakthrough right before. The reason I was like a couple minutes late is because I'm starting this thing called the culture exchange, excuse me. And it takes exactly what I've been doing already, but it gives it a name and hopefully maybe gives it a little bit more opportunity to happen more. So basically what it will be doing, and the first video will drop like in the next day or two, is I like to be active and I like to experience cultures, but I also like to share about ours as well. And like just a natural, organic way. So basically I just like kind of film the day of me being out and being active with someone from a different place. So I have to, if you are in a different country, I need you to love where you live, and then I want to come see you. I don't want to be with anybody that don't love where they live, because if you are miserable, I have no space for you in my life. So, but basically I would go to different countries or different places and kick it with folks. And I would learn about their culture in a fun way, like being out skiing or basketball or a day in the park. Like, people actually go to the park here, bro. Like, they really go to the park and play. We play Duck, Duck, Goose. What time is it, Mr. Fox? I'm telling you, I'm living my best life right now. When you see this video, you're going to see what I'm saying. We play Duck, Duck, Goose, and I had the time of my life. And went down slides and did all this stuff. And I learned what they put on their pancakes, which is kind of crazy. I learned what different things are. They tried lemonade for the first time, because what they call lemonade and what we call lemonade are two different things. So it's stuff like that, like just intertwined activities and learning culture. So the culture exchange is what it's going to be. Yeah.
You said you dropping that tomorrow?
Yeah, well, tomorrow I think is a holiday out there for y'all, so I'm trying to figure if that's gonna be the best way to drop it, or you laughing over this, or the next day. I have to see, because I think there's gonna be barbecuing and stuff. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, shoot, Quinisha, I appreciate you. You have anything else you want to add before I conclude this? Because, yeah, like I'm excited to see what you got going on, and definitely keep me posted, keep us posted with what you got.
Now y'all can just on Instagram, I'm Quinisha. I think you're gonna drop all my social stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
website cool. Quinisha. I told you, like, I like to go by Quinisha, so I'm Quinisha everywhere. So yeah, y'all can YouTube, we'll drop that in there. So you guys can just check it out. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram. Don't follow me on Twitter, because I just be looking at America like, what is wrong with y'all? Why are you doing this to yourself?
You got Quinisha on Twitter too?
Yeah, all of that. Yeah.
All right. All right. We'll definitely keep in touch and hit you up. Let me go ahead and conclude this thing. Thank you so much for coming too.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. Yeah.